Isaki's parents found out that she's having alone time with a boy, so they want her back immediately, but it seems like Isaki does not want to go, so we are about to commence a kidnapping plan, so we'll have to see how her parents react to that when they drive on over and find that she's not there in the house. But we are at the final episode. If you like the video, like the video. If you dislike it, dislike it, but we are going to get started. Wow, the nicest fucking kidnapper, asking for permission first. What a kid. Also, was that a Champion backpack? Is that what the logo was? No, Champion's different. There's that logo that I can't... Was it Adidas this whole time? Dude, they got so many fucking bananas. I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but I do not like bananas. I hate the texture of the bananas. It's very slimy. It's just ah. Oh. I love that she has Rolo as her screensaver. Really? So that's the picture of the night sky then. We didn't get to see the whole thing. You know what? I did forget something at the hotel at VidCon. Oh. Hopefully she sees that and doesn't step over it. I mean, if she's gonna put off her shoes, right? She's gonna have to look down. Yo, embarking on a dangerous journey. I can feel that nervousness or anxiety through the screen. I've had that moment before, back in elementary. I wanted to ditch school. Oh my god, they're just holding hands? Whoa! This is a public place, sir! And madam? Anyways, I remember I wanted to ditch school in elementary once, but I couldn't do it because... And it was like a day where like it wouldn't have really mattered if I ditched school or not, because all the kids, most of the kids, were off on a field trip, and well, me consider that my family couldn't afford field trip. I had to stay back at school, but like almost all the other kids were fucking gone, so like there was only a few kids in there, and I was just kind of like, why don't we just skip school? And man, I could not even walk across the street from where the school is. Ah, the cicadas. God, that's such a nice fucking bus stop. It's ridiculous how nice it is. Then again, I guess Japan doesn't really we'll face the music together. Ho. Anyways, as I was saying, if that was in New York, the amount of anti-homeless shit that would be put on that bench. Think you can sleep on that bench? Fuck you. I mean, same goes for LA too, I think. God, this place is just overgrown by the greens, but it looks really nice though. The background is just luscious greens. He's out here running off balance and everything. He's got a whole bag on his side. Compared to her. Oh! Is it made out of wood? Holy shit, that was a high jump. Of course. And yet here he is. Damn, dude. She just went, like, back by, like, yesterday. Or actually, no, like, in the morning. And this man's just bringing it all the way back to episode 1. You really Uno reversed her. So, we're really getting hit with another montage, aren't we? Oh. That'd be a nice shot at nighttime, huh? I wonder what she wrote in her note that her mom's going to read. Bye, Mom, I've been kidnapped. He's remembering the flashback? He's remembering the God, what did I... You know, even if it's just once, I would be interested to go out into nature just to look at the sky, because, you know, with all the fucking pollution that's happening. I don't know if that's even possible in California. We've got so many cars. Does it have to be the end of your adventure? I mean, it could be end of one chapter. Oh. Ganta's really like, well, since you said it's the end of our adventure. Wow, that's a big... Oh my god, that's a big promise. Oh my goodness. What do you think? She lost the power in her legs. Oh, wow, look at that fucking... Wow. That's actually a really nice picture for... I was saying when it comes to anniversaries and shit, but you know. You took a picture too, you can just look at it through your... Yeah. Okay. And then later on, she thought, why the fuck am I still here? Ah! So that wasn't a part of... So that was just a part of the flashback, and not, like, a part of a dream of him dreaming about the flashback. Mm-hmm. This is a special moment. It's still good, so, you know, your fear as a child, justified. It's like how you could fear that the sun will eventually implode on us, to which the sun eventually will, right? It's just that it's going to take thousands and thousands of years for the sun to reach the end of its lifetime. But eventually, it will blow up on us, just not in our generation. We're 15 minutes in, why are we playing the ending music? Man got died? Jesus. Really hit the Beach Boy vibes. Cat! The cat came in, they were just stealing her lettuce yet again. Oh. Really just gonna hand it the lettuce? No. That's not what I'm after this time. Oh! I'm not here to take your fucking offering! Slightly less insufferable. God, that is the... I mean, that's literally, what I would say for... Why can't I remember her name? Connie! Connie, goddammit. The f... Oh, minor blame. You never showed me your homework, you fucking asshole. Right at home until school starts up. Yeah. You keep me in contact, but not your apps? Come on now, helicopter parents, do better. They're telepathically communicating now. Is this their version of a recap for the ending, for the final episode? This is the same speech as episode 1. Yeah. But, yeah. What the heck? Even with you, sleepless nights aren't so bad. After the recap that they gave us, they're now showing us the... now they're showing us the recap of this. Oh, they're showing all the childhood one towards the end. Oh, and that's them taking the train ride back home, I think? Okay, well, that's it. That's the end. So, I guess I'll go write my notes, and we will be right back to the center. Okay, so I did wanted to relook at this part where he's talking about his first time vacation with his parents. Like, back when I was a kid, my family rarely took vacations, but there was one summer when we went up the mountains together on a trip. That night, my mom was leading me along by the hand, and she pointed up at the sky and said, "Pretty, huh?" But I was frightened because there were so many stars. Yeah, there were so many stars in the sky. It was, I don't know. It was like I was being shown some cosmic truth that really freaked me out. I suppose it's also the idea of like there's... I'm just thinking of Everything Everywhere All at Once right now with that one scene where, you know, one of the characters talking about how humans eventually learn stuff that like, hey, we're not the only planet out here, right? There's millions of other planets and there's millions of other stars that there's possibly could be some sort of life out there in space, right? It makes us all feel small and shitty, right? And worthless, that we're not like the center of the universe. We're not the most important person out there. We're just one tiny speck in a huge and expanding galaxy. And so that's what I'm thinking of, and I assume that's sort of what Ganta is thinking as a kid, right? The whole cosmic truth and the whole idea of when it comes to like those sort of terror, especially, you know, with H.P. Lovecraft stuff, it's learning some sort of truth that you don't want to hear, and that's going to affect you for your whole life. So, okay, I get why he was saying that. I was too busy making a joke about his mom leaving. Maybe she too saw the cosmic truth. Alright. Alright, hold on, let me continue this. I couldn't manage to say anything in response, and then things got kind of awkward. So they never went on another family trip. Okay. And then he just kind of goes and says like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know why I wanted to talk about it." It was really a point to share the story. But it's the first time that he said anything about his mother. Okay. Perhaps the cosmic truth that he learned was that his mom wasn't going to be around this whole time. Alright, I need to stop it. Okay, so there's this other part. I just put 15, but it's just them high-fiving. Why did I put this timestamp here for? Oh! It's because of the... Oh, it's because of this. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. I did want it to look at this. She got hauled back home. Both of her parents drove all the way up to the Milwaukee site to fetch her. Okay, so she did say that they're going to the Milwaukee site in her note super early in the morning. Instead of, because they came at night, and they really raked her over the coals after getting back home. It was a brazen attempt to elope with her boyfriend. What parents wouldn't be furious? You know, the way, Also, this is a really nice looking cafe. Like, what the fuck? It's so homey. It's ridiculously homey. Also, these look like the same lights as the bar from Buddy Daddies. I think that's the same light. It might be different, but I don't know why I'm thinking of Buddy Daddies when I see these lights. Anyways, distracted aside from this really nice looking fucking cafe, like, Jesus. We've got Connie, who's just saying, like, oh, she's eloping with her boyfriend. And that kind of goes back to what I was thinking about with Ukegawa telling Ganta that, hey, nobody's saying this out loud, but everybody's rooting for you. And I was thinking, like, are they saying they're rooting for them as in, like, the boyfriend-girlfriend relationship thing or the astrology thing? And initially I was thinking it's probably the boyfriend-girlfriend thing, but then I backtracked and I was just like, maybe he's just talking about the whole astrology club thing. But now with Connie coming in and just like, oh, she's eloping with her boyfriend, isn't she? I'm going back to what I first thought when Ukegawa said that everybody's rooting for you, so I guess they do assume that it's what is it, Isaki and Ganta's got a thing for each other. And then we've got Connie, who goes and says like, oh, that boy's really changed, hasn't he? Because we've got to talk about that whole sort of thing. He's like, oh, he turned over a new leaf, right? He used to be insufferable, but now he's slightly less insufferable. Which, it's such a statement that could be just used on Connie. Come on now, Connie. Oh, I know why I put the frickin' 15-minute mark. I have to go back because I forgot to look at the picture. I suppose this picture is probably the award-winning picture. They did tell us that he won the award, so there's that. Alright, so that was the final episode of Insomniacs After School. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. You know that I always like talking to you guys. For me, I thought that this was a pretty nice conclusion to the final episode. God, the last half really felt like just a summary. That's the last half really felt like it was just a fucking summary, which I was just kind of like, I don't really give a shit. But there were still some, parts that I like. Going back to the first half with Ganta saying that he's going to kidnap her, or he's asking for permission to kidnap her, and then they are over at the Milwaukee site, right, where Isaki ends up hugging him, and she goes and says something along the line of, I honestly thought you were just going to go without me. I was so sad about being left behind, but because of you, or somewhere around there of what she says. But now you've brought me here, right? Because of you, I'm here at the Milwaukee site, and and Ganta's like, you've got it backwards. He Uno reverses this. He's like, you're the one who reached out to me first, right? He's talking about episode 1, and he's saying that without her, he would have never been here at the Milwaukee site, right? None of this would have ever happened if she hadn't come to him first, and I very much enjoy that. Gives the emotional connection that these two have throughout this first season was very nice, and I really enjoy that emotional connection, and I really like how smooth that emotional connection of theirs have eventually go into the whole romance aspect. Then we've got the confession with Isaki mentioning that this is the end of our adventure, and she had said before, hey, tell me what you really think, right? Tell me all of this towards the end of our journey. And since she said that, Ganta's just over like, alright, bet! So he takes her by the hand. We've got a little bit of an awkwardness, which I very much enjoy, and I like that he's just like, can I start over? I very much like that. And eventually he goes in for the fucking kill and says, I love you. And the way that Isaki reacts to it, and the way that she wants the both of them to take a photo to commemorate this special occasions, I thought that was a really nice scene. I love this picture of him taking a picture of her, taking a picture of him. Very nice. And I always enjoy, they're not doing it as much because they only showcase it through like 3 layers, right? With her being the first layer, him being the second, and then her again being the third. You know, they could have just continued on, but they've just put a black screen. Just, you know, it's just like, you know what's happening. There's a fucking loop that's gotta go into the picture, which looks really nice, and I really like it. I just wish they put in that detail, but it's alright, right? They only went through 3 layers. That's totally fine. But I do enjoy that picture, and as I've said during the reaction, it's a good picture to think about on your anniversary. Right after that, the both of them are laying down, looking at the stars, and that got Ganta to tell a story of his family vacation. It was the one that we've seen in his dreams, where we saw when his mom was pointing up at the sky, and we see Ganta being scared. I had wondered, like, is he dreaming about his past, and that's why he's feeling like some sort of self-awareness that like his mom is going to leave him eventually? But no, with the way that Ganta tells the stories, he found that he was scared of the stars. He felt like he was being told some cosmic truth, right? The sort of truth that you don't want. So he felt scared of that, and that was like the last family vacation that they ever took. And you know, his mom left him. Maybe alright, I need to stop making jokes about it. Anyways, Isaki eventually says like, wow, you never really talk about your mom like this. Or you never talk about your mom. And so this is a special occasion, right? The feeling that Ganta feels very open towards Isaki, and that's something that has been communicated with us throughout this entire show, that even from the beginning, right, Isaki herself was being very open with Ganta, and that's the reason why Ganta is able to open up about himself. Because we saw how Ganta was in the first episode. He was irritable, he was very sleepy because of that. He's very irritable, he gets very frustrated, he doesn't really deal well with people because he felt very envious of others and how they're able to get along with their life while he has to be the one who suffers. So when he met Isaki, and Isaki opens up about her problems, which relates to him very much, about her insomnia, and then eventually, right, Isaki talks about her heart condition, which is very secretive and very personal to her, which is why her sister was very surprised when she learned that Ganta knows about her heart condition. You know, like, Isaki was very open with him, and because of that, it allows him to open up. And so I just really enjoyed this part where he's talking about his family vacation and him saying, like, I don't know why I was saying that story, right? I don't really think that was the point of me talking about that story, or that somewhere around there for his lines. And yeah, I just enjoy that he feels very safe to be open with Isaki. And towards the end of that story, with Isaki also talking about her own fear, right? Trying to give some sort of relation to him, which I also very much enjoy. Isaki asks how he feels about the stars now, since he said that he was afraid of the stars, and yet now here he is taking pictures of it and appreciating its beauty. And he doesn't finish his sentence, I think, but we can assume that he likes the stars now. Because he now has something else that's good to associate with the stars. And then after the first half, which I liked, we've got the second half, which, as I mentioned, is just a fucking summary. It truly was. It was... I wrote in my note that says, show, don't tell, and it truly felt like we were just being told what had happened afterwards. And the way that anime can kind of get past it, anime and mangas can kind of get past it, is doing both at the same time, right? Is to tell us about it, have a little narration, but also show us it at the same time. But here, we are getting the full case of show, don't tell, when... right after this whole spiel, we've got the friend group, Isaki's friend group, talking about what had happened after this whole thing, right? Her parents got mad, Isaki's got an earful and everything, and I'm just like, man, it would have been nice if we at least had seen that, because I've been kind of thinking about, like, oh, maybe we'll get to see the repercussion that they're going to have to face, but it goes into this thing of Isaki's friend talking about it. I was just like, oh, that's cool, that's great, I guess, awesome. But I'm not really sure if that's how they did it in the manga, right? Because like there could be some sort of difference in the way that the anime does it, because as I said again, And this last half really just feels like a summary, feels like a finality, just to summarize everything up in this series. And I'm just over like, fucking cool, right? Cool, I guess. I just wish, we had seen it, so that's pretty much all I have to say. And then there's also the whole thing with the national contest, which is a minute after this point, where we've got Shiramaru asking Ukegawa, hey, did the astronomy club get any fundings, which was the big goal that we've had throughout this entire series, but then it just gets summarized in this point, where it's like, oh, did the astronomy club get funding? And Ukegawa's like, well, Ganta won the national contest, and I'm like, well, fuck. I wish we would have seen the national contest, but we were running out of time, right? We're really running out of time. That's why we've got to summarize everything. But again, I don't know whether this was showcased in the manga or not, or if this was how it went in the manga, and the anime is just adapting what it was, or it did get explained somewhat, and the anime is just doing its own whole low finality thing. So that's for manga readers to tell me about, but hopefully you don't tell me anything else about, what's going to happen later on. No fucking spoilers outside of this episode, so thank you. But in case the mangaka did do it, or if it's the other case, I guess, it kind of show where the mangaka wants to put focus on the story compared to, the things that I want to see. Where I really enjoy seeing the small, minute details. So I would have liked to see him winning the national contest. I would have liked to see the parents, fucking talking Isaki's ears off, right? That's the thing that I would like. I would like to see that small, minute details. But if the manga did not showcase it in the manga, then I assume that the way that they're narrating the story, these parts that I feel like I care about, they don't particularly care about, and I think that's fine, right? The way that people are narrating their stories, they can figure out what they want to tell us and what they don't need to tell us, or not to tell us, what they want to show us and what they don't need to show us. Goes back to show, don't tell, I guess. But if the mangaka did showcase it, then, then it's just the anime not really caring much about it and would rather just give you the finality stuff. So yeah, there's that whole spiel, and then we've got the ending with the radio broadcast, which I still, in terms of the radio broadcast stuff, I very much enjoy. I very much enjoy that special connection that they have, just being able to talk to one another, but not really having to, having the other person reply back to them, right? They're just having a podcast for the other, not really caring too much about what the other person is going to reply. So I do enjoy the whole concept of the broadcast. But as they were doing the broadcast, they started having a telepathic communication. Their fucking spirits are here and everything. And they just started to have a fucking recap. It's just the two of them talking about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because we know how anime tries to end the season. They want to summarize everything that had happened up until now. And I was thinking, like, this is the part where they fucking do it? Okay, that's cool, I guess, right? They're showing all the things that had happened. And right after that, well, I'll talk about this part in a bit, but right after that, and we get into the credits, they recap us again with with all the stuff that was happening here, and I'm just like, did we really need the previous part? I genuinely wonder, did we really need that part if they were just going to do this part, this whole spiel again with in the ending where they showcase all the summary? I don't know, maybe they're just like, people are gonna skip and not watch the ending, so we're gonna put it in the anime. But the other part that I like, because I always enjoy seeing things go full circle, here in this pot, we get to see the same narration that Ganta had given us in the first episode, except this time there's, instead of like I can't remember if there was music in the first episode, or if there was music, it's a little bit more ominous, it's a little bit more minute, right? Unlike this, unlike them showcasing this scene again, but with the opening music, which is a lot more, a lot more jovial, you know, but not like to the full extent. But it's a lot more upbeat than how it was in the first episode. So I like that we get to have the repeat of the same thing. We get, I assume it's almost like the same-ish shots, except you get to see his astrology books and all that. So I very much enjoy having that full circle. And, you know, I remember this is where we got to see his camera somewhere around there, right? Also, just a low criticism of fucking high dive subtitles. I fucking wish that they put the fucking lyrics up here and not in the same area as the other subtitles, but with the way that high dive does, they truly do not have a way to put subtitles up at the top, only at the bottom. I don't know why. That's just in their system. Anyways, yeah, I believe this is where we saw his camera, right? But this is kind of the same-ish as well, right? The sky gets bright, and then another light seeps through my curtain, and morning comes along with my despair. However, which is very nice, right? Instead of saying, "Oh, morning comes along with my despair," as how he started the first episode, but now there's a however added to this, and it's just nice, right? That's him saying, "Oh, I still get sleepless nights, but it's not all that bad with Isaki around." And that just incorporates the whole idea of what Isaki had said, like, hey, if we're both going to suffer through the night, if both of us can't sleep, we might as well have fun out in the night. So I very much enjoy it. It's very nice, right? I like all the connecting things. I like when things go full circle in the series. It's always, I feel like, when it comes to with these stuff in anime, it's always gonna go full circle, which it's very nice, right? I just like it when these sort of spiel happen. And also there was another montage that had happened in this episode as well. I was just over like, oh fuck, we're getting another montage. God damn, dude. But that's my thoughts for this ending. I thought the first half was really nice. I thought the second half was just, it was certainly there. And that gets me to my opinion as a whole on the anime. So, I thought that for a romance, it was very nice. And the things that I really enjoy about romance anime in general is the emotional connections that the characters have with one another before the romance bloom, right? We've got other rom-coms where like the romance kind of already, not the romance, but the whole idea of like, oh, I like this person kind of already starts, or we get stuck in the with the main character going and being like, I don't know, do I like her? Do I actually like her? Oh, does she actually like me? That whole thing is just whatever. I don't really care much for that. I'd much prefer having characters, even if they might have a little bit of a crush with each other, they're still establishing that bond with one another before the romance fully bloom. And I think that Insomniacs After School does that really well, and I like that they did that under the guise of insomnia. I don't know why I said in the guise. But yeah, I like that they incorporated insomnia into this, and how that's how these two characters are able to bond with one another. I like the talk about insomnia and getting a little bit more insight on it, and with Kurashiki sensei saying, hey, this insomnia thing, it might have something to do with something that's inside you. And as we learn through this whole series, that both Isaki and Ganta got reasons why they can't sleep, and they both have explained it to one another. And again, we see how very much open they are. So I really like that. I really like the emotional connection. I really like to talk about the insomniac stuff. I don't really care much about the astrology stuff. I don't really care about the camera stuff, right? I kind of just zone out. when it comes to those sort of spiel. As much as I like to think that nature is pretty and all that, I very much understand that I am an indoor person and I can't care enough about stars. I can't care enough about nature for 13 episodes. Right, for maybe like 1 or 2 episodes, I'll be like, oh, that's pretty cool, that's be alright. But then if it just keeps expanding and continuing, I'm just like, I don't care. And unfortunately, outside of Kurashiki sensei and Shiramaru, I don't really care much for the other side characters. I especially don't care much for Asaki's friends, which kind of dampers how I feel a lot of the times when we get scenes with Asaki hanging out with her friends. Right? Like, Nono, I do like Nono on some levels, but I don't really care much about her. We've got, and then there's fucking Connie, so great. You know, I love and hate her at the same time, but I still don't really care all that much about her. And then we've got that other girl whose name I just keep fucking forgetting every time, and that really showcased how much I care about her. Aizawa? Is that her name? I don't think that's what her name is. Anamizu. There you go. I didn't really care much about them. And then we've also got Ukegawa, who, you know, I still very much think that he's a bro, but other than that, I feel like he doesn't really have all that much, he doesn't really garner all that much interest from me, and I'm the person who likes side dishes, right? The entree, the main entree, it could be good for all I care, but what I'm really interested in are the side dishes, right? Because side dishes are a variety, and if I have to eat the same entree over and over and over, I would like to have a variety of side dishes, because as much as I would like a main entree, I'm going to get sick and tired of it if I eat it all the fucking time without any side dishes, or with any side dishes that I don't like, right? And then I don't eat it. I hope that food analogy makes sense to you. And so that's how I feel about the side characters, and if you've been following me around, I enjoy side characters. I love them, and I feel like side characters are one of the reasons that boosts a show up for me, whether I really enjoy that show or not. And so for the main characters, I like Ganta and Isaki. The issue is that we get a lot of focus on them and not a lot of focus on the other characters. And I know that some people have mentioned it before, where in these sort of this first season, you know, we're going to get a lot more of just Ganta and Isaki. And perhaps we'll get a little bit of a side story for Shiramaru or Kurashiki sensei later on. And so I kind of came with that in mind when somebody was telling me about that, which I kind of wish they didn't, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad that they did, because I would have held a whole lot more expectation on side characters if they didn't tell me about it. But yeah, as much as I like Ganta and Isaki's development, right, I've already told you all the things that I like about them, I didn't enjoy the side characters, and the side characters that I do like, we don't get enough of, so. And this is the part where you can see the bias within me. Because I love Bokuyama. I think Bokuyama is one of the best rom-coms out there. And it's when you really think of the story structure as a whole of Bokuyama, it's nothing groundbreaking, right? It's a boy who is a little bit of a recluse. He doesn't really get along with his friends and all that. And then we've got the girl who's slightly popular, and she is very opposite of him, and she's able to, you know, meet with him, have some emotional times and all that, and able to pull him out of that rut that he's feeling. And when you think of that concept, it feels very much like Insomniac After School. We've got a boy who doesn't get along well, Ganta, I mean, with the other students. He's having his own issues that he has to deal with. And then here's Asaki, who, well, despite having her own issues to deal with, she's able to take hold of Ganta and pull him out of that rut and change him from how he was in the beginning episodes. So when we look at it in like in the concepts and like just generalizing the stories, they are very similar to one another, and I full well understand that whole thing. And so because of that, if I read some stories that I know are very similar to one another, I get very vain. I get very vain, and I start thinking about the art and character design, and I kind of base what I like just off of the book covers, essentially, of how, if they all feel very similar to each other, I'm going to base it off of the art, and for the most part, also the side characters. It's truly is the side characters that ends up gripping me towards the end of a series, and whether, I really want to watch it or not. But also, I kind of mentioned it in Oshinoko, there's also that feeling of stickiness, which funny enough, I got that from M. Night, where he talks about the stickiness. But for me, right, there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of anime that I really enjoy, but then once it ends, I find that it doesn't really stick with me as much, right? Whether it's the story that's not really sticking with me, it's the comedy that doesn't really stick with me. Like I could have had fun during those times, but if it doesn't stick with me afterwards, if it doesn't want me to rewatch it eventually, right? If I look at it a couple months from now on, I'm just like, it's whatever. I don't really care much for it. Yes, right? It doesn't really stick with me, even though I've enjoyed it at the time. I went on a tangent about stickiness, I guess, but in terms of stickiness for the series, doesn't really, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the whole stickiness thing, it has to, I have to give it a few months or so to just figure out whether it's been sticking with me or not, because there are certainly shows that don't really fucking stick with me. Some shows don't really live rent-free in my head, right? On the top of my head, the shows that I like that still sticks with me, the first thing I'm remembering is Shadow's House for some reason, just because I don't know why, but Shadow's House, I just remember the story so well, just because I really enjoy the setting. I really like the characters. I love everybody in the characters. Alright, one of the first long arcs that we've got is like one of my favorite arcs. I really enjoy it. And, if a season 3 fucking comes out for Shadow's House, fucking great. Also, although I did talk about how I do want to read the manga, but at the same time, I kind of don't want to read the manga of Shadow's House in case season 3 comes out, But other than Shadow's House and the two obvious other series that I like, aka Bokuyaba and Iruma, I don't really have any other series that I've reacted to that that really sticks with me and I really like. At least not at the top of my head, right? Because the only thing that's at the top of my head right now is Shadow's House. But yeah, I'll figure out what the stickiness is for this show later on, whether it sticks with me or not. Oh, you know what I was talking about before I went on that stickiness tangent? I was talking about me being vain on stories that are very similar to one another. Yeah, and so in that comparison, right, if we've got Bokuyaba and we've got Insomniacs After School in the same area, and I'm thinking about the character design, I'm thinking about the art, I'm thinking about the side characters, of course I enjoy Bokuyaba a whole lot more. But in terms of the comedy and such, right? There's a big difference with Bokuyaba because Bokuyaba leans on the fucking cringe, and cringe is just something that I love and hate at the same time. And I very much enjoy it, right? That's why I like Yuri Is My Job, because I enjoy the story, but it gets to the point where, like, I feel like my gut is just tangling up inside because of how cringe and dramatic Yuri Is My Job can be, and it's just, ooh. But I enjoy stories like these, right? I enjoy, I do like wholesome, like, stories. I do enjoy cringe, and I suppose Bokuyaba's got best of both worlds, so good stuff. Iruma is like, it is like wholesome for the most part, but I love the lore building. I love the setting of Iruma. I love
the tide backs to Iruma, and like the connections that goes from the beginning and how it leads us up to later parts of the stories, right? I like those small, minute details, and that kind of just goes back to how I feel about this story, about how Insomniacs After School sometimes, where I feel like, oh man, I wish they had showcased us that instead of just skipping over it, right? Because I'm just so used to having, having those small little details explained to me, and I like it, right? And that kind of makes me think about My Dress Up Darling, where each episode, almost each episode, starts off directly where we were, or it starts off, for the most part, it starts off directly where we are, maybe get like a few hour skip or something, but we're always starting in the same position as we were when the episode ended. Meanwhile, with this series, I'm always kind of like, it was that one part where they were at the camp and they both went to the beach to take the picture. They had all this fun time, and then they went to take a nap. And I was wondering, oh, are they going to showcase us, like, them coming back and how the people will react if somebody sees them walking back together or something, right? And I thought that we were going to see that detail, but then it kind of got glossed over, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool, I guess, right? That goes back to the whole idea of the mangaka, if this was how it was in the manga, is telling us that this sort of detail, that that whole detail stuff, you don't need to know about it. You don't need me to show you it, right? You can kind of figure out what happened during those time, and that's okay if that's the sort of narration that the mangaka wants. But I have my own ways of narration, and I like my own, I like, other ways of the narration. And for me, I very much enjoy the small, minute details. And when it comes to something like Iruma, right, they always like to explain to us how we got here. And I enjoy that, even though I was watching a reaction to season 3 of Iruma-kun recently, and there was this hype moment that we've had, and then after that, Iruma being the way the show is, it spins and tells us, alright, let's wind back a little bit to tell you how they got here. And I remember the reactor was just like, I don't give a shit! Why the fuck do I need to know about that? All I need to see was this super fucking cool action spot that you've showed me. I don't need you to explain to me how this whole thing happens. And I remember thinking about that, and I was just like, yeah, I guess that's true. But I was thinking about it in hindsight, and I know why they did that whole spot, that whole scene in the first place, right? Because it's setting something up. It's setting something else up for later on. But if you are anime only and you're watching this, it's like, it's not really going to click with you. Instead, you're just going to be like, this is fucking stupid. I don't need you to explain it to me. And I get that, right? That's the sort of person that would mesh with the way that this mangaka for Insomniacs After School, right? In the way that it doesn't tell you all these minute details that you perhaps don't really care about. I care about it, but, perhaps the majority of people don't really fucking care about. And that's totally fine, right? That's totally fine. It's just not my preferred way of storytelling. So, overall, I enjoy the two main characters of this story. I like their journey and how they were in the beginning and how they came out. But I felt like I was getting worn down as the series continued, and we got to see more of the other side characters that I didn't really care all that much about, and we're mainly focused on Ganta and Isaki, which again, I like their journey. I just wish we had a little bit more of a variety that I liked. The variety being the side dishes. I liked the animation. The art style's not my favorite. I kind of don't like how they draw the eyes a lot of the times, but again, that's just an art style and it's not to my preference. The music is very chill for the most part, right? It really fits with that vibe of like, I'm gonna listen to music at nighttime and chill. Have a little chill time. You can see that through the opening and the ending. So It also kind of gives me a little bit of an 80s vibe for some reason when it comes to the songs, especially like with the ending song. But yeah, I thought that the music was appropriate. It's not really, it doesn't really stick out to me all that much. My favorite part of me talking about how the last half of the final episode is just summarizing things, and here I am summarizing things. But yeah, the other two things that really wore me down through this series is the other two topics that I don't particularly care much about, aka astrology and photography. don't really care too much about it, and yeah, it's really hard for me to get fully into invested into a series when it's on a topic that I don't really care much about, and they don't really give me more or less a fun-ish explanation, right? The explanation that they give to us is very straightforward, and it could be very helpful. It kind of showcases that the mangaka does a lot of research on this whole thing, right? And I like that. I like that it's it's the mangaka displaying their knowledge on photography and astronomy as well. So I get that. I appreciate the effort. I just don't care much for the topic. So yeah, I enjoyed it in the beginning. It wore me down, and I would say if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. Like, it's good, right? I enjoy it, but it's not my preference. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope you don't take too much of an offense, if you took any offense of me saying that I didn't really enjoy this anime as much towards the end. But yeah, I just hope that you know that I do appreciate all the things that I like about this series. It's, again, just not my preference. But if you've been here since the first episode, I really appreciate you for sticking with me throughout this whole journey. And if you were just here towards the end for this final episode, but you're somehow still here for some reason, you're a fucking liar. Yeah, that's right. You're a fucking liar, because you're not even here, and that's why I'm talking shit about you. All right. If I have anything else to say, I will write it in the description down below. Thank you guys for sticking around, and I will see you guys when I see you guys.